Order. I call this meeting to order. This is the Standing Committee on Human Resources. My name is Chris Palmer. I'm the MLA for Kings West and the chair of the committee. So today, in addition to reviewing appointments to agencies, boards, and commissions, we'll also hear from the Department of Natural Resources, the Department of Labour, Skills and Immigration, the Nova Scotia Community College, and the Public Service Commission regarding natural resource expansion and workforce development. So at this point, I'd like to ask everyone in the room to please put your phones to silence so we don't have any interruptions there. And I'd like to ask all members here at that table to now introduce themselves with their constituencies, beginning with Emily McQuarrie.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Kyle McQuarrie. I'm the MLA for Inverness.
Good afternoon, everyone. Trevor Boudreau, the MLA for Richmond.
Good afternoon. Welcome. I'm Melissa Sheehy-Richard, the MLA in Hants West.
Good afternoon. Welcome to all the witnesses. My name is Adegoke. I'm the MLA for Clary Park West.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Becky Druin. I'm the MLA for Lunenburg West.
Good afternoon. Derek Murcutt, the MLA for Sydney Member 2.
Paul Wozni, MLA for Sackville-Cobequid, and I use he, him pronouns.
And I'm Christy Gallagher. I'm the MLA for Halifax-Chebucto, and I use she, her pronouns.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to welcome our new committee members here and those who are visiting us for the afternoon. So welcome to everybody. For the purposes of Hansard, I'd also like to recognize the presence of Legislative Counsel Killian Schlemmer to my left and Legislative Committee Clerk. I give you a promotion. Legislative Committee Clerk Judy Kavanagh to my right. So as per our practice here in our committee, we will now begin with our appointments to agencies, boards, and commissions. I'll look for a motion from MLA Sheehy-Richard.
For the Department of Agriculture, I move to recommend Rochelle Chevrier be appointed as member designate as vice chair to the Nova Scotia Crop and Livestock Insurance Commission.
Motion on the table. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. MLA Sheehy-Richard.
For the Department of Environment and Climate Change, I move to recommend Sasha Gibson to be appointed as member of the Roundtable on Environment and Sustainable Prosperity.
There's a motion on the table. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion is carried. MLA Sheehy-Richard.
For the Department of Health and Wellness, I move to recommend Maria Lacheras be appointed as public representative to the Board of Nova Scotia Occupational Therapy Regulator.
Motion on the table. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion is carried. MLA Sheehy-Richard.
The Department of Health and Wellness, I move to recommend Arlene Williams be appointed as public representative to the Board of the Nova Scotia Regulator of Audiology and Speech Language Pathology.
Motion on the table. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. MLA Sheehy-Richard.
For the Department of Health and Wellness, I move to recommend Colleen Arnold and Lisa Caron be appointed as public representative on the board of the Nova Scotia Regulator of Dental Hygiene, Dental Technology, and Denturism.
A motion on the table. Discussion. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. MLA Sheehy-Richard.
For the Department of Health and Wellness, I move to recommend Gregory Fevins and David Melvin be appointed as public representatives on the board of the Nova Scotia Regulator of Dentistry and Dental Assisting.
Motion on the table. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The motion is carried. MLA Sheehy-Richard.
Thank you, Chair. A couple more. For the Department of Health and Wellness, I move to recommend Brian Murray be appointed as public representative on the board of the Nova Scotia Regulator of Physiotherapy.
Motion on the table. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. MLA Sheehy-Richard.
For the Department of Labor, Skills and Immigration, I move to recommend Angela Michaud and Jennifer Rollins be appointed as members, employer reps on the Arbitration Advisory Committee.
MLA Sheehy-Richard, could you just repeat the names again? One more time, please, for us.
Angela Michaud.
Yes.
Jennifer Ronalds.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. There's that motion on the table. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Makes a difference. MLA Sheehy-Richard.
For the Department of Service Nova Scotia, I move to recommend Denise Robichaud be appointed as member funeral director on the board of registration of embalmers and funeral directors.
Motion on the table. Any discussion? All those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Now, we'll just go back to the previous one because I don't know if I actually mentioned the motion is carried, but does the table just agree I can just say the motion is carried? Motion is carried for the previous Arbitration Advisory Committee. Thank you, committee. Okay, so we will now move on to our meeting topic for the afternoon. And welcome to all of our guests. It's great to see you here, and we look forward to the conversation. I'd like to ask all of our guests here at the table to please introduce themselves and who are you representing, and we'll go across the table, and then we'll open it up for opening statements after that. So we'll begin with Ms. MacKinnon.
Sure. Good afternoon, Melissa MacKinnon, Public Service Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Suzanne Ley, Associate Deputy Minister for Natural Resources.
I'm Sandra McKenzie. I'm the Deputy Minister of Natural Resources, and I'm also the Deputy Minister of Emergency Management.
Ryan Grant, Deputy Minister for the Department of Labor, Skills and Immigration.
Tara Walsh, Senior Executive Director of the Department of Labor, Skills and Immigration.
Andrew Lafford, Vice President Academic, Nova Scotia Community College.
Philip Dawe, Nova Scotia Community College, Dean, School of Applied Technology and Innovation.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'd like to give our guests an opportunity to give an opening statement. I believe, Deputy McKenzie, you have an opening statement you'd like to provide.
So thank you, Chair, and thank you to the members of the committee for the opportunity to be here today. Nova Scotia is fortunate. We are a province rich in natural resources, but more importantly, we're rich in opportunity. So I've had the privilege, because I've been around for 400 years, to have served as Deputy Minister in Economic Development, Labor and Advanced Education, Emergency Management, and now in Natural Resources. That perspective is important because I got really basically looked across the spectrum of the workforce. These files are deeply connected. Economic development, workforce development, and natural resources are not separate conversations. They are one conversation, and it's one I care deeply about. I've also seen firsthand how public confidence can fundamentally shift when we see what's possible. So many of you will remember the Ship Start Here campaign. In that campaign, we featured welders. That year, the enrollment in welding was triple what it had been the year before, because when people saw where there was good jobs, when parents saw where there was good jobs, they signed people up. We should have showed IT as well. Learned that afterwards. So we have watched attitudes change, and how when that happens, it unlocks real economic opportunity for Nova Scotians. And the same is true for natural resources today. Across this sector, there are hundreds of different types of jobs. There truly is something for everyone. Whether your interests are in science, technology, skilled trades, environmental stewardship, operations, or business. Whether you want to work in an office or in the woods, there is a sector that reaches into every community in this province, and we need to be talking about it that way. We need to speak positively about these sectors and about the people who work in them, and about the opportunities they create. Because when we develop our resources responsibly, we create good, well-paying jobs, we keep people here in Nova Scotia, and we generate the revenue that pays for the services Nova Scotia relies on. This is about abundance. We have what the world needs, and we can develop it safely, responsibly, and ethically. Take critical minerals. I'd ask you to take a look at your phones that are sitting on right in front of you. I'm sure the Chair asked earlier if we all silence them. In those phones are cobalt. Those 80% chance that that cobalt has come from places where child labor is part of the supply chain. We have the opportunity in Nova Scotia to extract those resources responsibly, create economic benefit here at home, and be a source the world can trust. The same is true in forestry. We have healthy forests that provide lumber to build our homes, pulp to produce quality paper, products, and low-quality fiber that's turned into new bioproducts. These are modern industries grounded in science and sustainability. Despite what you may hear, forestry in Nova Scotia is not the Lorax. Mining is not Avatar. These are real sectors run by skilled professionals focused on safety, environmental stewardship, and long-term value, and the people behind these sectors matter. In this province, 7,200 of our 8,000 firefighters are volunteers. In their day jobs, many of these are foresters, contractors, and equipment operators. We need to hold that as important as we hold their volunteer job. These industries are not separate from our communities. They are part of what keeps them strong and safe. We also know that parents are often the most important career counselors, so part of our job is to make sure families understand the scope of the opportunity that exists, that these are meaningful careers that young people can build a future on right here at home. At the Department of Natural Resources, our role is to create conditions for success, to support responsible development, to plan for the workforce we need, and to make sure our systems are working effectively. We are advancing forestry and mining action plans this year to better understand our opportunities, identify gaps, and build the skills we need. We have also begun to realign the department to improve service delivery and decision-making, including the creation of a new land strategy and planning branch. And we continue to work closely with partners across government and the education system to ensure Nova Scotia has the workforce, partnerships, and systems needed to support this work. At the end of the day, this is a shared effort and our collective responsibility. We invite each of you to see yourselves in this work, to be part of the opportunity, and to be part of Team Nova Scotia. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Deputy McKenzie. I believe, Deputy Grant, you have some comments as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today about workforce development and how Nova Scotia is preparing workers for opportunities tied to natural resource expansion and the transition to clean energy. Our province is entering a period of significant economic activity. Major investments are creating strong demand for skilled workers across many sectors, including clean energy, defense, critical infrastructure, housing, and public services. Nova Scotia has supported the transition to cleaner energy for many years through investments in wind power, energy efficiency, and home heating programs. The projects now moving forward represent the next phase of that transition, and they are creating new workforce demands across the province. These opportunities have the potential to support long-term economic growth and good jobs for Nova Scotians. Clean energy development alone could require thousands of workers at peak demand. Much of this demand will be concentrated in skilled trades and technical occupations, including electricians, iron workers, crane operators, millwrights, and power line technicians. Meeting this demand requires an intentional and coordinated approach across government, industry, training providers, and employers. We cannot simply hope the workforce will be ready when these projects move forward. We need to understand where demand is emerging and work proactively with partners to prepare workers, expand training pathways, and respond to changing labor market needs before pressures intensify. Our department plays a central role in this work. We are taking a proactive approach by aligning workforce actions to projected project timelines and labor demand. That includes coordinating key workforce levers such as workforce planning and development, upskilling and reskilling, apprenticeship and skilled trades training, labor market analysis, labor mobility, immigration programs, and of course, workplace safety. Several priorities are guiding this work. First, we are strengthening skilled trades training through partnerships with Nova Scotia Community College, unions, sector councils, and employers. In 2024-25, we certified more than 1,000 trades professionals for the first time, and we did it again last year in 2025 and 26, achieving the goal set out in October 23 ahead of schedule. We also set a goal to register 5,000 apprentices over 3 years from 2023 to 2026. Thanks to a strong focus on promotion and recruiting in the skilled trades, we also reached that target a year early. Investments such as the Institute of Skilled Trades at the NSCC are expanding training capacity and modernizing equipment, so workers are prepared for emerging technologies and industries. For the 2026-27 academic year, there are more than 5,700 seats available in technical training across the apprenticeship system. We are also focused on growing the future workforce pipeline by increasing exposure to skilled trade careers for youth through targeted supports, experiential learning opportunities, and school-based programming. We are also working to attract more young people into skilled trades careers through targeted supports, skilled trades programming in schools, and expanding exposure to high-demand careers at an early age. Second, we are supporting labor mobility and workforce participation, including attracting skilled workers from other provinces and internationally when needed, while also creating more opportunities for Nova Scotians to enter high-demand careers. Third, we are focused on workplace safety as these industries grow and evolve. Emerging sectors like offshore wind, hydrogen production, and major industrial construction bring new workplace environments and risks. That is why we are working closely with industry, safety partners, training providers, and regulators to ensure workers have the training, protections, and safety culture needed to do these jobs safely. We are not lowering safety expectations to accelerate growth. Strong safety culture is critical for worker confidence, retention, and long-term workforce sustainability as these industries continue to expand. And finally, we continue strengthening labor market data and forecasting, so workforce planning keeps pace with economic development and major projects. At the same time, we are continuing to invest federal and provincial funding into workforce development supports for employers and workers. And that includes helping businesses improve productivity and grow their workforce, connecting Nova Scotians with employment opportunities, supporting people and upgrading their education and skills, and creating more opportunities for students and job seekers to gain exposure to in-demand occupations through co-op placements, experiential learning, and workplace training. Nova Scotia has a strong foundation to build on. With continued collaboration between government, industry, training providers, employers, and workers, we can help ensure Nova Scotians are prepared to take advantage of the opportunities ahead. Thank you, and I look forward to the questions.
Thank you, Deputy. I believe Ms. MacKinnon, you have some comments.
Thanks, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to appear today. The Public Service Commission helps ensure the Government of Nova Scotia, the civil service, has the skilled workforce it needs to deliver services across the province. We work closely with departments such as natural resources, energy, economic development, and all those that Deputy McKenzie mentioned earlier, to support workforce readiness as these sectors grow and evolve. Our focus is on building a strong, modern civil service that reflects the diversity of the communities we serve and is able to adapt to a changing labor market. As natural resource sectors expand, technical expertise, regulatory oversight, roles in permitting and engineering become more of a focus. At the same time, the nature of management and leadership is evolving. Managers need stronger data literacy and the ability to lead complex cross-functional work. That requires better workforce planning, more efficient recruitment, and access to learning that helps employees build the skills they need now and into the future. To support this, the PSC is making targeted changes. We're streamlining and modernizing classification processes to respond more quickly to emerging roles. We're also expanding targeted learning and development opportunities and strengthening digital and data capabilities across the civil service. Creating supportive workplaces is equally important. This includes providing improved access to mental health supports, benefits, and resources that help employees navigate workplace challenges. Through our employment equity initiatives and our self-identification tool, we continue to work toward a public service that broadens access to opportunities, including in growing sectors. We work closely with departments, community partners, and educational institutions across the province to support recruitment, training, and workforce development to strengthen pathways into the civil service. Whether it's in natural resources or other growing and priority sectors, our role at the PSC is to help departments meet those demands now and in the future. I look forward to the discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Lafford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And committee members for the invitation to appear here today. With me today is Philip Dawe, NSCC's Dean for the School of Applied Technology and Innovation. We're pleased to be a part of your examination of the subject of natural resource expansion and workforce development. Nova Scotia Community College continues to partner with government and industry to work more strategically, all with the aim of encouraging and preparing more individuals to serve in and therefore address workforce needs in emerging sectors like natural resources. By strengthening our current collaborative efforts with government and those already in the sector or those looking at opportunities to tap into major projects on the horizon, we can more efficiently and effectively achieve the goals we each hold for our province and the communities that we serve. Discussions are always ongoing with our partners on additional initiatives we can incorporate into our work to help further advance our mission and focus. I'm so proud of those learners who have come to us not only to make a difference in their own lives and futures, but also to strive to grow into the professionals needed to contribute in those areas that government has identified as critical to our province's progress. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you today. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you once again to all of you, and we'll begin our question and answer period now, where we will begin with the NDP Caucus that will have 20 minutes, followed by the Liberal Caucus that will have 10 minutes, and then the Governing Caucus will have 30 minutes in the first round, and then the second round will be split 50% between the opposition and 50% between the Government Caucus. So we'll begin with the NDP Caucus for questions. MLA Wozni.
Thank you. I understand that NSCC is laying off staff this year due to a more than $15 million deficit. The biggest contributor to that deficit is the province cutting funding to NSCC. We understand that over 4 years, the province intends for NSCC to cut 230 jobs, which is equivalent to the workforce of the downtown Sydney campus entirely. What impact will these cuts have on NSCC's ability to deliver the skilled workforce this province desperately needs?
So, just a quick reminder again, just to wait till your light comes on, or till I reference you, and then the light will come on. So that's fine. Mr. Lafford.
Yes, thank you for the question. NSCC has done a number of cuts to positions, but those positions are not in areas where our main focus is and our core businesses of NSCC. We continue to invest and support in our student outcomes and relevant modern programming, and some of the programs that we're here today to talk about fall right into that category. Our geomatics programs, our wind technician program at the Strait Area campus that's starting this September. Those are all examples of ongoing investments into student outcomes and relevant programming.
Emily Wasney.
I understand the round of cuts this year includes close to half of the staff you have in the support services or professional support division, whose primary function is to support students with complex needs to experience equitable outcomes and post-secondary learning. And there can be no question that a loss of this magnitude is going to make NSCC a much more challenging place for students with learning, with unique learning needs to experience the success that they need to get into the workforce. Further, I'm wondering about whether or not this loss in funding year over year and these major staff reductions over the next 4 years, how is this going to affect the number of seats available at NSCC to staff across sectors? And I'm wondering if you can comment on how these cuts will affect programs that train people to enter careers in our traditional natural resource sectors.
Mr. Lafford.
Thank you. Yes, we're focused on maintaining our programming, maintaining our student focus, including student services. There were no impacts that were budget related to any programming or any faculty positions, and that will continue to be the case as we move forward, and including in the natural resources areas of programming.
Emily Wasney.
My question was how these cuts will affect the number of seats available across NSCC's operation, including programs that train people in our traditional natural resource sectors. We understand that the desired or intended impact of the recent legislation that moves NSCC under the purview of the Department of Labor and Skills and Immigration is to enhance trades-based programming. And at the same time that there is investment in those programs, there's millions of dollars of cuts to programs that are not trades-based. So it's unclear for us whether or not programs that prepare people for careers in natural resource sectors that are traditional in Nova Scotia are considered part of the umbrella of the Skilled Trades Institute if they fall under non-trades-based programming. So really looking at system-wide what's going to happen to the total number of seats at NSCC and the number of seats available to train people for natural resource jobs at NSCC, whether or not these cuts are going to impact the number of seats at present or in the future.
Mr. Lafford?
The short answer is no, there's no seat cuts at all. And if anything, we will have, if there is a need in the labor market going forward for seats that are attached to occupations in the natural resources sector, we will even increase those seats. The changes in terms of the Institute of Skilled Trades, there are a number of trades positions that are connected to mining, natural resource extraction, forestry. Those also fall under that picture, and so therefore, we don't see any or forecast any cuts to seats overall. And in fact, one of the things that the Institute of Skilled Trades that we're learning and working with the council there on is it's more about getting more people through the system successfully and graduating in the end, and not falling out of the system due to several reasons, including academic achievement.
MLA Wozni.
A 2025 CBC article indicated that the wait list for skilled trades training seats at NSCC is up to 2 years in some cases. Could you explain how you're managing this wait list and the challenges you are having in terms of getting both job placements for these students and connecting them to apprenticeships?
Mr. Lafford.
So yes, we manage these wait lists, so we try to help students find other opportunities of where they can get, they may get a direct entry into the Nova Scotia Apprenticeship Agency to do their technical training. They may do enhanced direct entry programs. We want to make them aware of all the opportunities to get into the workforce. So that's how we basically triage our wait list, is looking at who's on that wait list and helping them try to find other opportunities either at NSCC or with other parts of the trade system.
Thank you. MLA Wozni.
Thank you. This question is for the Department of Labor. In 2023, only 43% of apprentices completed their certification in Nova Scotia. The province set a target to increase this rate to 60% by 2028. We know that anecdotally the high apprenticeship completion rate at the Building Trades Advancement College is attributed to their practice of vetting their applicants for seats before they accept and they begin their studies. I'm wondering if NSCC, if you can talk about any direction you're providing to NSCC about vetting trades-based applicants, and what you can tell us about what the province is doing to increase the apprentice retention rate for tradespeople seeking training through NSCC.
Okay, so I have Deputy Grant raising his hand.
Direct the question to the Department of Labor Chair.
Okay. Deputy Grant.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the question. As you say first, whether that's BTAC, training at union halls, a fantastic training provider with wonderful experiences of people being supported. And to your point, there are front-end processes of understanding and supporting an individual making a choice if that's the right fit for them at this moment in time in their life, in that occupation, in the trades. And there are some really important principles there. One of the things that we are focusing more and more on is creating exposure opportunities for individuals in grades 7, 8, and 9, as an example, with March break camps and summer camps, where we have a significant number of seats that will be available in 26, 27, about 1,500 for summer camps and March break camps. Whether that's the high skills major effort in our high school setting. We've recently done some pilots as well, and for those individuals that would be eligible for graduation after the first semester in grade 12 of getting pathways for them to transition into the NSCC. We also have skills competitions for youth. We have the Nova Scotia Sector Council Trades Exhibition Hall, which is a great exposure opportunity. All of these pieces in the ecosystem really help us lean into an individual assessing their skill, competency, aptitude, and interest to enter in the trades, that they're making a choice that's well-informed. Of course, as time goes on, in concert with NSCC and the council, we'll be looking at ways in which that front-end decision-making can be with as much education and awareness as possible, because we all want the same thing. We often talk about an anecdote. We don't want someone going through a 2-year program and the first time that they get up on scaffolding is in the second year, or they're in a plumbing program and the first time that they're experiencing a confined space is in the second year of a program, and they make a decision of, this might not be for me. So really appreciate the question. Again, these are all considerable efforts that we have been undertaking and will continue to do in the future.
MLA Wozni.
I appreciate the sort of the picture about equipping people at a younger age to make an informed decision about a career in the trades. My question is specific to people that have already committed themselves to a training pathway. In many cases at NSCC, people come to the end of their 2 years and are without connection to an apprenticeship to be able to carry forward their training and rack up the hours necessary to achieve their Red Seal designation. In 2023, that rate was only 43% of folks, and that's including the very impressive numbers through direct entry and enhanced direct entry. So, you know, the department rightly identified there's a need for improvement and set an overall target of 60% completion by apprentices beginning their apprenticeships. I'm just wondering, that's about 2.5 years since that mark was hit. How are we doing on our road to 60% successful completion of apprenticeship across the board? That's sort of more the question I'm trying to get to.
Deputy Grant.
Appreciate that. Sorry if I missed the mark on the first question. I don't have an update on the 43. That'll be next year will probably be the first time that we really get a good look at what I'll call like a 2 or 3 year average of where we're moving from a retention rate standpoint. But back to your question as well, this year is actually the first year as well that we'll be registering people as pre-apprentices that go through an NSCC program in one of the apprenticeable pathway programs. And the upside of that will be now we will start interacting with them as one system. So NSAA will be engaging with the students while they're in a classroom setting, making sure that they're exposed to what a full journey through apprenticeship looks like. Of course, safety training will be really critical in that regard, and that's also a focus for the council and the IST, is creating more work integrated learning opportunities and more connections with industry for the very thing you say, which is, so A, they'll have greater skill competencies when they graduate, but then also create the connections with employers. So it's not just an individual looking for work when they finish their program, but they've been well on that journey as they go through the academic pathway.
Emily Wozni.
Just want to change the channel a little bit. You know, we're looking at sort of individual apprentices taking programs. You know, how do they see that through, you know, as an individual journey? But I want to stop for a moment and look at the role of government to create these opportunities for apprentices in a systemic way. We're seeing other provinces in Canada make remarkable gains in sort of the total number of skilled tradespeople and skilled workers through the implementation of community benefits agreements, so that where government undertakes major projects and spends, ingrained in those projects are structures that guarantees that the workforce that does the building, that does the work, has to be made up of X% local workers and local apprentices, so that those projects turn into meaningful, immediate, dense opportunities to get lots of hours, hands-on learning, and graduate to meaningful practice in the trades. For example, Manitoba has jobs agreements, and British Columbia has a similar policy framework under British Columbia infrastructure benefits. The Manitoba Jobs Agreement also includes requirements for fair wages and local hiring. We've heard that on many major construction projects in this province, out-of-province workers are being flown in, and much like travels nurses are being paid substantially more per hour than Nova Scotian workers doing the same work on the same site. What is the province doing to address this unfairness and level the playing field for Nova Scotia apprentices?
Deputy Grant.
Again, really appreciate the question. Our efforts are considerable on developing domestic workforce, so that, as you say, as these large major projects advance, that we are taking advantage as a community and as a province with a workforce that's here. And as you were kind of mentioning about some other jurisdictions, here in Nova Scotia, as an example, on the Cape Breton Regional project, there was an agreement in place and a requirement for, I think, 25% of tradecraft hours to come from apprentices, which has been really successful. This is, I believe, one of the first instances in this jurisdiction where we've gone down that road, and a lot of work in working with the supplier community, sub-trades, of course, organized labor, but to ensure that these large projects serve as really important development for a workforce for that project and projects down the road as well. And I think a really important legacy as well from this moment in time with considerable work that's underway. Of course, we'll continue to look for those opportunities on the horizon.
MLA Wozni.
Perhaps the project that's most visible to Nova Scotians, both because of its location, but also because of its central importance to healthcare in Nova Scotia, is the redevelopment of the QE2. I'm wondering whether or not this project contains a minimum share of project hour works guaranteed for apprentices as a feature, as a legacy project in a number of respects, but also as a goal and opportunity to grow a brand new generation of skilled tradespeople as we build a healthcare facility that be at the heart of delivery healthcare in Nova Scotia for a generation to come.
Deputy Grant with 3 minutes.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll have to confirm and take the explicit question offline with the Department of Public Works and Build Nova Scotia, who would hold the contract. But I will say, outside of explicit contract language, the principles of are very much held by Build Nova Scotia as a buyer of service, if you will, and with the contracting community as well, of continuing to build up a domestic workforce. HI is a really important opportunity. We've had, I think it was concrete form worker, one of our first enhanced direct entry programs, and really successful. Individuals coming out of that program have attached onto the job, and that's really been a career pathway that we will be continuing to lean into, anywhere from a 10, 12, 14-week exposure for skills and skill development on the job. And in terms of EDIA focus, if you will, on underrepresented groups, for those 6 programs for enhanced direct entry that we've launched or completed so far, 20% of the individuals are African Nova Scotians, 17 are persons with disabilities, 14% would be women, again, as being underrepresented group in the trades, and 9% Indigenous. So a lot of early success, but more to come, a lot more for us to be leaning into.
Thank you. MLA Wozni with about 1 minute and 20 seconds. MLA Gallagher.
Thank you, Chair. You just mentioned that women are underrepresented in the construction sector. So I had a quick little question. In British Columbia, they recently introduced rules where employers have to have flush toilets available on job sites. Is this something that the department here in Nova Scotia is looking at?
Deputy Grant.
Yeah, I really appreciate the question. Women in trades and really is a deep focus for the department, for the minister. The women in trades efforts have included considerations around PPE, different learning supports and strategists, and really reflecting on the requirements for having welcoming workplaces, which again, access to washrooms is a part of that. We recognize British Columbia, Ontario is another jurisdiction that have made some advancements, if you will, in that regard, and some changes. We've had some discussions with representatives from organized labor and mainland
Order.
trades.
Sorry, I should have mentioned at the beginning, if it comes to the time that our question comes up to the deadline, I will have to cut your mic off. So we'll move on to the Liberal Caucus with 10 minutes, and I believe MLA Druin is first up.
Thank you, Chair. So in this past budget, the 2026 budget, we saw government make significant cuts in a variety of sectors. And that included cuts to operating grants within SCC with, I believe, $9.4 million cut from that. Recent weeks, we've heard an announcement that government's cutting 91 positions as part of its 3% annual cuts to the public service. Since that budget rolled out, we have seen these cuts land in what seems to be a very targeted way, although that may not be the case. It may be incidental, but it feels very targeted in the staffing of librarians across sectors. So we saw an HRCE library techs are facing uncertainty in their employment. Just this week, we've heard closures of libraries that have been announced in the Valley. And I know other areas are concerned about the amount of funding that they have. And then recently, NSCC did announce the elimination of all campus librarian positions. We heard Commissioner MacKinnon say how important data literacy is in the sectors that we're talking about and in developing in natural resources. These are highly technical, well-educated positions that NSCC is focused on supporting government's efforts in providing education for. And librarians play an important role in that. They help students find credible technical information. They build research and problem-solving skills. They have important skills in use of specialized tools and data. They support technical writing and documentation. They improve digital and information literacy. And I think really importantly, they also support rural first generation and returning students. We do see many students and are encouraging many students now to enter trades, technology, and natural resources who are new to post-secondary, either because they're local folks whose families have not been engaged in that before, or newcomers to our communities. And so librarians play a really important role in all of this. And so my first question relating to this is for our NSCC representatives. And my question is, how will you mitigate the impact of these cuts on the student experience?
Mr. Lafford.
Thank you for the question. Appreciate it. We have 4 central librarians that have that master's level education. And then we do have our own library information technology program that some people may be aware of. That program provides graduates that are library technicians and technologists. And those are the positions that we're continuing to have at the campus level, are those positions. And then we've also looked at, in terms of where those additional supports come from that the librarians did provide in certain areas, and how we had some duplication with what faculty were providing in the exact same way. So really looking at a model where our faculty are leading that and supported by the library technicians.
Thank you. MLA Druin.
Thank you so much for that. I know the commitment to providing a quality student experience, not just specifically in relation to academic education and technical learning, but the broader experience, I know is one that NSCC takes very seriously. So I appreciate that navigating through those cuts is challenging when you're working on those priorities. Can you share anything more about the impacts of the cuts that you're dealing with and what the public and students may be able to expect in terms of changes to staffing into the future?
Mr. Lafford.
Sorry. Yeah, jumped ahead. We do have a new student services model. So there were changes in the student services model. Some positions were eliminated, but then there was a large amount of positions that were added as well. So those positions are now set up in a way that helps our students in this current environment that we're in. our students, we find, are coming to us often not prepared to start college. So we're putting more of a focus on the beginning part of entering college, and the other part that we're putting a focus on is that graduate outcomes, where we have a reliable, skilled graduate that's coming out that industry expects. We know what industry expects, and we're meeting that expectation. So we kind of reworked our student services model to be supporting both of those ends of the spectrum. And then at the campuses, we continue to provide a variety of different supports for students, from cultural supports to tutoring to help people get through to completion, and all sorts of other types of mental health supports that are helping our students. So we've kind of looked at the model, what was working, what wasn't working, and strengthened in the areas that was working.
Emily Druin.
Thank you so much. My next question is for Deputy McKenzie with Natural Resources. So there were, in the 2026 budget, a number of cuts within Natural Resources. We saw FTE reductions, which included the elimination or restructuring of the Wildlife Division. We also saw decreases in the budget relating to policy and priorities and analysis, as well as some capital spending that was reduced. These reductions reflect not just only the loss of people and investments and monetary resources, but they also have a significant impact on institutional knowledge. They reflect a loss of knowledge. And that has a particularly concerning impact when viewed in light of the cuts that we were just discussing that NSCC is experiencing as well in relation to librarians and others. So I'd like to know if you could share what the department is doing to mitigate that knowledge loss and to ensure that as Nova Scotia does develop natural resources and work to expand our economic opportunities in those areas, that we have the data and understanding that we need to do that in an informed, sustainable, and data-driven way.
Deputy McKenzie with 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
So I'm very happy that question got asked. During the sitting of the House, staff that worked in the Wildlife Division heard over and over and over again that they had been eliminated, to the point that they started to wonder if somebody else knew something they didn't know. And we had to encourage them every day that, in fact, they were coming into jobs that had not, in fact, been eliminated. What we did, and when we raised this at the stakeholder lockup with the Ecology Action Centre, they said, great, we've been asking for a landscape planning model for years. What we did is we created a land strategy and planning branch. And so what had happened before is each of these divisions were making decisions, and they would be rolled up, and there was no place that they came together. When we created the land strategy and planning branch, we brought together Crown Lands, integrated resource management and planning, land use functions, and wildlife under a single branch, supported and coordinated, so they could do supported and coordinated decision making. There was a loss in total of 3 management positions, and we've replaced 1, moving back in. The branch focused before, really, this was an opportunity to reduce silos, improve accountability, and ensure environmental stewardship, public safety, and economic development considerations were addressed together. The opportunity in the Department of Natural Resources is vast. And just reflecting on the Wildlife Division that you had mentioned, I'd like to give a little shout out to the universities that also prepare our workforce for the natural resources. So just looking at some of the folks that we work with, the veterinarians, the biologists, the geophysicists, the engineering, the techs, the the engineering, again, chemical engineers, and a variety of others. These are going to be needed into the future. Absolutely, we need the apprentices. My son wrote his the Red Seal on Saturday, and really exciting. And he told me that he's working on the windmills now up in Cape Breton, and he thought that they took the whole graduating class that came in this year in terms of overlooking. So it's really exciting work. So just wanted to make sure that we're also looking at the university programming and that we need to be encouraging young people to move into. So I'm really pleased.
Order.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. And we'll move on to the PC Caucus for 30 minutes of questioning. I believe MLA Fatheray is up first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the witnesses for being here today. It's really nice hearing facts over fictions. So I really appreciate the fact that I don't know if you want to complete what you were saying. I could allow you to be able to complete that, what you were saying. Or do you? Okay.
Sorry, Deputy McKenzie.
That's your job. Yeah. I just wanted to add that we're already seeing the benefit, as are the staff, in being able to work together to see their specialties impacting the rolled-up decisions that are being made at the landscape level. So there's been a benefit already to the approach that we've taken.
Thank you. MLA Fatheray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is going to go towards NSCC. I knew for a long time when people, especially when I listen to the opposition speak about resource control, they always talk about in the lenses of a project. But we know that resources development is all about people, right? So there's probably someone sitting in the classroom, a young student sitting in the classroom somewhere, probably in Clay Park West, who one day can help shape, the environment, right, in terms of the future of forestry, mining, agriculture, clean energy, and a number of these emerging industries. The question is not whether the question is whether we are providing them with a clear path to those opportunities. So my question is this: can you tell us about the programs NSCC delivers to support studies and careers in the natural sector for these young students, and how those programs are helping prepare the next generation of Nova Scotians for this emerging economy?
Mr. Lafford.
For the question, appreciate it. So there's a number of programs that are directly related to natural resources, and then there's a whole variety of programs, including skilled trades programs, that are indirectly supporting natural resources. So if you think about mining, there's heavy equipment operator, there's electrician, millwright. But if you think directly, like I mentioned before, we did have a new program starting this year at the Strait Area Campus in Port Hawkesbury for the wind turbine technician program, and that would be the first of its kind here in Nova Scotia. And then we have the Centre of Geographic Sciences in Lawrencetown in the Valley, where there are a wide variety of programs there that help support natural resource locationing and exploration, so locating and mapping and exploring for natural resources. And then we have a program that we've had for a very successful program that we've had for a long time now called Natural Resources Environmental Technology. Very popular with young people who are interested in the environment and protecting and sustaining the environment. And that has a wide variety of applications and occupations at the other end of that, including natural resource extraction, forestry, and we are looking at adding additional courses to that program to support the critical mineral subsector, I guess it would be called.
Thank you. MLA Fatheray.
I want us to deep dive a bit more into what the clean energy, right? We all know that Nova Scotia stands at what I would call a threshold of tremendous opportunity that lies before us. Where we've seen world jurisdictions are competing to lead in the clean energy, whether it's offshore wind, whether it's critical minerals, and industries that help power the economy of the future. What excites me most about this opportunity in Nova Scotia is the opportunity to build meaningful careers right here. The question whether we're building the workforce today that will allow us to seize the opportunity for tomorrow. So I'm asking, what's NSCC doing to prepare students for careers in growing clean energy sector, and how do the college see themselves in contributing to Nova Scotia's leadership, in this space for us as Nova Scotians to be able to lead this work around the world?
Mr. Lafford.
Thank you for that question. Really appreciate it. There is a lot that we're doing that is, nationally recognized stuff. And if we think about, I'm going to go right back to that wind turbine technician program off the top. That is strategically located at the Strait Area campus, where we have our long-standing nautical institute with a lot of simulation gear and things that are looking at, we combine those two programs, or we combine the wind turbine technician program with a lot of that knowledge and experience and expertise through the Nautical Institute. That gives us that eye to the offshore wind production. Right now we're focused on onshore because that's where the developments are, but we were thinking down the road when we made that decision of where to locate that program, and to combine it with the Nautical Institute made a lot of sense for us strategically, and we are aiming to be the premier offshore wind institute in Canada. I think we have that ability in Nova Scotia because of what our natural environment provides for us, and the winds just off the coast of Guysborough County and Richmond County really provides us with a strategic advantage at that campus. There are many other programs. We have electrical engineering technology programs. We have a utility line worker program. So we're really focused on the clean energy generation, but also the grid-based infrastructure and the transmission of that energy going to market, whether the market's here or elsewhere. And so we have a number of programs that also, like I said, that electrical engineering technology program helps support that. Industrial instrumentation and controls is another program at Sydney Waterfront campus that is connected into the electrical grid type of infrastructure. And then we also have a very unique program at our Cumberland campus in Spring Hill called Refrigeration Air Conditioning Geothermal. So also looking at geothermal energy, we've had that in place for a long time, have some applied research activities that are connected to that as well, and really trying to support that area of the province in terms of geothermal and all the different ways that geothermal energy can be extracted from under our feet.
Thank you. MLA Father.
That's truly exciting to see that we're preparing our young folks for the jobs of the future, not just jobs of yesterday. And I think that's an important thing we need to echo, because sometimes conversations get lost with, I wouldn't say that. I want to speak a bit more about the natural resource environmental technology. I really want us to look into that. There are many young people right now who don't understand that there's so many careers being produced. I want to ask, how is this new I don't know if it's a department, how's it supporting students right now? As in, how's the NSCC Natural Resource Environmental Technology students supporting the industry? What are the new careers? Where are they going to? I want you to be able to talk to us about it, because this is an opportunity for us to enlighten and educate people, because sometimes we hear more of doom and gloom, but people have no idea about what is really happening. I'm just hoping that you're able to speak to that.
Mr. Dawe.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Dawe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the interesting part about the NRET program is natural resources and environment technology, and that's really what this is about. And there's some really amazing developments on that kind of technology side. In this program now, and when this program is a Made in Nova Scotia program, a lot of kind of programs across the college are very similar. So this program, right from the start, was set up for the forestry sector, the ocean sector, and the mining sector. And really, what we have the students focused on there. VP Lafford mentioned our College of Geographic Sciences in Annapolis Valley, world-renowned, and I'm sure everybody here probably knows that. But that NRET program has a lot of that kind of GIS type of stuff. Those graduates right now are participating and are working for consulting companies that are doing environmental assessments on projects across the province. They also work a lot for government. So the Department of Natural Resources is obviously important to that as well. And what we see from a student perspective is that, you know, somebody may want to go more on the ecological side versus somebody might want to go more on the, what I'd call that kind of traditional kind of forestry side, and that's all there. The last thing that I will mention is that we get our learners in that program working on community and industry problems. So we actually do, over a year, we study a problem, and then they actually develop solutions. And we showed 25 of those solutions at our tech showcase at our Ivany campus in the spring of this year. So I think it's a great program.
Thank you. MLA Father.
I see the excitement also. It's also a constituency of mine, so shout out to Clay Park West here. I want to move quickly to PSC. My question is simple. Obviously, I also had the real opportunity of being able to work in the civil service, and I know that civil service is full with amazing creative and expertise. As our province begins to grow, major projects become more complex. We need public servants who can navigate this change, who are able to engage communities, who work across departments, because you said that even in your opening remarks, and to ensure that growth happens responsibly and efficiently. What skill sets, what leadership qualities, what competencies do you believe that is important for the next generation of public servants at Nova Scotia, at PSC, who will continue to help pursue the economic growth that we're looking at and the resource development opportunity? I know we have incredible talents. I'm just hoping you could speak about what your vision, the next set of skills will be in terms of leadership, competence, and just that projection. People within the sector can understand that they have a role to be able to play. They can be nimble, they can be agile, and they can, fit into that new vision. Thank you.
Commissioner MacKinnon.
Chair, thanks for the question. I appreciate it. And I know several of my colleagues, I'm looking at Sandra, have very strong opinions on what these competencies and skills are. And I think we're in a good position to observe it with so much opportunity. I think I mentioned the importance of technical expertise, and so that's been changing over time. We've been in the business of clean energy tech, for some time, so we've seen that change within the civil service. I think there's more of a need for collaboration, for understanding polarization, and trying to come to a place where we can work in the gray and leading your teams through that, through difficult scenarios and different sides of issues. I mentioned the digital literacy piece, and I think, strong communication and engagement skills, obviously. But I think as we get into, these are really complex, I think everyone here has talked about the complexity of the workforce and some of these projects. And so an approach where we can look beyond just our own silo and expertise and bring folks together is really important. And we're guiding folks through change and transformation. And so having those skills is really important. And that's been a big focus of the Public Service Commission, and why I really love being commissioner, is trying to think about the future, listening to colleagues like I have at the table, and figuring out how we can strengthen the foundation so that they can deliver on what they need. And I would just, if I could, mention the importance of bringing students and youth into the civil service that is a big piece of the future. We have more students. We have about 200 high school students working with us this summer. Natural Resources has long been, this is a credit to successive governments, a champion for bringing students into the workforce, which is a big piece of helping us work on succession and helping people understand where those good jobs are in the province as well.
Thank you. I believe MLA Sheehy Richard is next.
Sorry, I was caught up in my own head because I was so excited to have this topic, because as an MLA in your community, you're kind of engaged in these projects, and as you say, like some of the polarization that comes with them or the misinformation. My son is actually registered to he's a software engineer from Dawe University. at that age demographic where they believe in everything and everything about sustainable development, clean energy, and they don't understand completely the mindset of how technology can change. So he's going in September to the Cape Breton Institute. We're actually going up to try to find an apartment next weekend. So that's a shout out, and congratulations to your son for registering. I have 3. My middle son is going into now upping his skill level, entering a trade, and I have a son who's challenging his second level as a power engineer on June 4th. And apprentice in electrical who loves it. He was direct entry, and as a mother, I cannot tell you how fantastic the program is. Is he sure he wants to do the job? He loves it. He's hands-on. He's been getting raises all along. He's on the drug plan. I mean, it's such a good environment. And then he's got a couple blocks left and will be able to take on his own apprentices and working on major jobs in the constituency. BioVector being one of the big expansions that we're doing in biochemical or biopharmaceutical. But I also am very passionate. My husband is a forest technician that graduated from NSCC many years ago, and all things forestry. Went on to the Forest Ranger School in Cape Fredericton. But what I want to talk about is how the Department of Natural Resources is kind of balancing when we talk about, most of us represent a very rural community where you don't see the trees from the forest if you're, around a concrete forest. But, having that chance to see what's there, like how is the department balancing forest management, with also the mining? Like, how are you looking at the overall plans of the two together and trying to determine the best steps? And as you're doing that, are you also considering workforce? I mean, we did hear a lot about the technical aspects of it needed. And considering 60% of our province is privately owned, how do we educate the next generation? In community, you see, like, for example, Woodlot Owner of the Year is the 8th generation for that family. 2 of the 4 girls are passionate about it. So how do we ensure, the succession so that as we balance the two, how is that coming together as a department? Because I know there's a few priorities there.
Thank you. Deputy McKenzie.
So congratulations to your children. That's really, really, really good news. And I just want to acknowledge the shout out from the commissioner. I'm a big fan of public servants. And for those that are in the room and for those that may be watching, we're all proud of you and we're very, very pleased to work with you every day. We know your dedication and the amazing things that you're able to pull off in very, very short periods of time. So thank you. Thank you. In terms of balancing things, that's why we went to a landscape approach. We brought together the various aspects across the department, and we're doing integrated resource management now, which has to look at mining, which has to take a look at forestry, has to look at lands management, and also economic growth in other sectors, and trying to make sure that we're planning for the future, knowing that we are 30% Crown land and mostly private land in Nova Scotia. I can say that I believe we're leading in every area. Natural resources is known for taking in students. And if I can just talk about how do we make sure that we have succession. We make sure we have succession by talking positively about the opportunities in Nova Scotia. That's how we make sure we have succession. We know that kids make decisions, and there's teachers in the room, kids make decisions on these, on what jobs they're going to do and what jobs they're not going to do, by sometimes grade 3 and grade 4. So giving them opportunities to find out about the opportunities that are at the NSCC or in the universities or direct entry, as you describe it, we need to get that information out sooner, and it comes from not necessarily having people come in and demonstrate their job at the front of the classroom. It comes from parents thinking positively. They are the most important career coaches. Parents need to know that these jobs are important, that they are well-paying, that they are distributed across the province, across rural areas, and that they are going to be here for some time. Every time we raise questions about forestry, every time we raise questions about mining, we're telling a parent not to tell their children to go into that. So if we want the workforce of the future, we have to actually raise them up through parents that are positive by talking positively about the sector. So that's how we get succession. And thanks for the question.
Thank you. MLA Sheehy Richard.
Thank you for that. Just following along with that chain of questioning, natural resources has always been an important part to especially rural Nova Scotian economy. When you think about the way we settled the country, the first stop was Nova Scotia, hence the oldest legislature in the country. So as that technology in the day moved forward to each province, kind of adapted that, and somewhere along the way, Nova Scotia just, stopped. So how are we going to change, I guess, if we can, that perception that you just talked about, especially when it comes around forestry and mining? And also how important, do you have a direction on how important the work and the plan that the department is working on to educate, sort of similar to, as we said, this great example of the welding for the shipbuilding. And as we look at all the defense investments and, everybody's like, oh, we can't do that because 20 years ago, right? But we also didn't have these 20 years ago. So I guess how are we going to try to, put out the message that everything that we are in, the wood that we're at, the concrete in our area, the minerals that go into this, the houses that we build, the energy that we produce, how do we change that mindset to say that not only can we bring down costs, it's putting, my sons are totally making way more money at their age than I ever did at my beginner entry jobs. And quickly I learned to go back to school and get, a paralegal degree. But how do we change that mindset? Because for a lot of years, it didn't seem, it was always university, but we're seeing more and more university students coming out and then getting a trade, more and more RCMP or serving members retiring, not having a trade. So how are we going to try to change that or promote how good of an opportunity it really exists for our young folks and moms?
Proud mom moment, for sure. Deputy McKenzie?
Changing the mindset comes from talking positively about the sectors. That's absolutely critical. I am going to quote the Mining Association of Nova Scotia that has a slogan that says, not your grandfather's mining. And that's something we actually have to let go. And that is that this is not the mining of 40 years ago. It's not the mining of 60 years ago. It's modern mining. We can look at it across the country. And I think what we need to do is remind Nova Scotians, everybody wants to be able to get an MRI in a timely way. The minerals that are in the MRI machines, cobalt, tin, silver, gold, silicon, and copper, and there's others there. We have them available in Nova Scotia. We can help build MRI machines. We can help make sure that we have access to the technology in hospitals that are required to do all of the amazing things that healthcare is able to do now that are built on the minerals and critical minerals that are available in Nova Scotia. So I think that it's actually linking the mining back to the things that people hold dear and important, and explaining to them that we can get these minerals safely, ethically, and economically, and that we also need to make sure, as I said earlier, that we're talking about the industries positively. So I'm just going to turn it over to Ryan, if that's okay.
Deputy Grant, MLA Sheehy Richard. Deputy Grant would like to answer. Okay, Deputy Grant.
Thank you very much. Just a couple additive comments. So just in terms of offshore wind, clean energy, let's just take that as an example. Top occupations, Mr. Lafford from the NSCC had referenced industrial electricians, iron workers, crane operators, millwrights, power line technicians. If we look at the median wage, median hourly wage for those occupations, steam fitters, $45 an hour, crane operator, $41, industrial electrician, $40 an hour, iron workers, $37, millwrights, $33, mean, there really are extraordinary income earning opportunities and career options for many different people. And the other thing I just want to reference in response to this question is around the safety culture in Nova Scotia and how much improvement and progress there has been in that regard. So I'm just going to quickly go through a couple of what we would call kind of natural resource related industries. But since 2020, injury rates in fishing down 39%, agriculture down 22%, mining down 67%, forestry down 14%, construction down 32%. And more work needs to be done in this regard as well. Like, this should never not be a top priority for system partners. But to the point of speaking positively and just making sure that parents, family members, folks are aware that great income earning and safe industries as well.
Thank you. MLA Sheehy Richard.
Thank you. I just trying to get how I want to form my next, how much longer do I have?
4 minutes, 50 seconds.
Which of these do I want to know? I think I'll skip over my other question and advance to, I was a paralegal at first, but then we had our children and I stayed home with them. So I'm always about how do we get that mindset into kids, and I'm just curious, when you said the grade 3 level that sometimes they're interested in, is there space to work with our schools and the principals that have them to be in our schools more often, to catch the kids at a younger age and show them what can be possible in these careers? I know sometimes we do career expos, they're not well attended, but is there a partnership that's forming, or other initiatives that are being explored to utilize that brain of theirs at such a young age? Because little things like that stick with somebody for years to come. And my husband, as that forest technician, then got a job with the Green Trees Initiative, was a summer student working in it, and has always quizzed me when we go through the woods on what type of tree it is. So how do we get that passion that he had at such a young age to then follow through with his career, and then as it led to other opportunities? He's been doing different things not related to forestry, but certainly has that knowledge. So how do we get that embedded in the youth at such an early age?
You both seem like you're both on this. Okay, Deputy Grant.
It starts with intentionality at first, which is across the system at the right junctures and with the right exposure and information. And I'll give you an example. I've seen recently a coloring book for women in the trades across many different professions, relevant for someone who is in this primary, grade 1, 2, 3, et cetera. I think those kind of things are wonderful ways of starting the exposure when people are thinking about career occupations. And, there absolutely can be a lack of exposure, whether it's through not having a familial connection, or what they're observing in a classroom setting, or what they're exposed to from a media standpoint. But whether it's in the primary setting, the secondary school setting, I mentioned earlier about the summer camps and March break camps. That's relevant for individuals 7, 8, and 9, which I think are really helpful and extraordinary. But it really does take the full system, making sure that they think about where there's all these meaningful opportunities that are age appropriate as well on creating exposures for people. And then my colleague, Deputy McKenzie, might want to say a few words as well.
Okay, Deputy McKenzie.
No, I think you did a really good job. I would say that we can't just rely on the teachers to be able to expose the kids to all of them, and you can't get everybody into a classroom. So there has to be other ways that we communicate, and I think that Ryan just did a great job. I just want to do a really quick shout out to the Nova Scotia Community College. They have great on-ramps. So if you've happened to graduate and you don't have academic math, and you determine that you do need academic math because you want to go into electrician, or you want to become an engineer, you're able to go back and you're able to get it. You're able to complete your, go back and get academic courses that can support where you're going. So So I think that that's also things that we should share, that you're not toast if you came out and you didn't get what you needed. There's a way to get back. The on-ramps are excellent. They're available across the province. And I think that they may be, we can speak about those as well for people to make sure that they know that if you are interested in pursuing a pathway, there's an on-ramp for you. Thank you.
Thank you. MLA Sheehy-Richard with 50 seconds.
Okay, so that worked out perfectly because I kind of merged my two questions together. But the coloring book I love because you can actually, as a female, see yourself in a field that predominantly maybe was not a field that how do we get more women into the trades, and that's brilliant. And I noticed another campaign that always happens is one of my constituents is on the Dexter Institute, and she's the brand of the advertising, and I mean killing it. And we then almost, I see now, way more female operators even getting into those things, and they say that females are the best at operating it because of the precision, and they're pretty good at it. I tried it, and I am not.
Order. Speaking of precision, very good. We'll go to the NDP Caucus again with MLA Gallagher, and there's 15 minutes between the opposition caucuses. So 7.5 and 7.5.
Okay,
So
no problem.
MLA Gallagher.
Thank you very much, Chair. So just continuing on this conversation and to the question that I asked before we got cut off, because it seems to be working out well here with, getting more women and gender diverse persons into the trades. Because I think flush toilets would actually be a big improvement. I do understand that foremen on job sites have access to flush toilets and running water in their job site trailers. And so I'm just asking again, maybe when the decision will be made about flush toilets on job sites.
Deputy Grant.
I very much appreciate you coming back to, and I apologize for maybe an elongated response that got me cut off. But as I mentioned, certainly a lot of understanding and reflections for gender diversity on job sites, and there are different experiences and different needs in that regard. So certainly a need for a continued dialogue, and certainly a lot of reflection, if you will. Certainly today, employers as well, they have a space to make the decisions that they feel like are relevant and responsive to. But I appreciate the question is related to our role as a regulator and oversight of labor standards, et cetera. And again, this will be something we continue to reflect on and have more dialogue with system partners.
MLA Gallagher.
Thank you very much for that. It was too perfect not to bring back up. According to the Federal, Provincial, Regional Assessment of Offshore Wind Development's final report, the total labor imports required for construction and installation phase for just 1 gigawatt of offshore energy comprises between 1/4 and 1/3 of the total non-residential construction workforce in Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia intends to license 5 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2030. How does the department have a plan to address what looks like a significant bottleneck?
Deputy Grant.
Again, really appreciate the question. There's two parallel fronts, I would say, with regards to clean energy, offshore wind, response to defense spending as well, which is we recognize the significant need, and a lot of occupations will be cross-cutting across many of those opportunities. I had referenced earlier about offshore wind, industrial electricians, iron workers, crane operators, millwrights. That's relevant for many different job sites, many different sectors. And so we're moving with haste on many different fronts. The retention discussion we were having earlier with a colleague, the front end, if you will, on a demand and interest from students through whether it's direct entry, enhanced direct entry, the wonderful NSCC pathways, of getting the right people into those programs. And of course, the recently executed Institute for Skilled Trades and a council, its core purpose is to make sure that there's very little daylight between industry's reflections on the skills and competencies they need and training providers to make sure that we really have a good, clear pathway and curriculum and learning experience that's relevant for today and tomorrow's jobs. So that's the initial balance, I'd say, on blunt instrument system-wide efforts. And then there's working very specifically with proponents on what I call the granular solving for X, Y, and Z. And our department in that regard also leans in with many different areas and toolkits. So of course, training providers, but then we have an employment support services network to support individuals on mid-career transitions that may be looking for this next thing in life, help them reskill, retrain, and move very quickly into that space. So again, both of these fronts are active and robust and have full confidence that we'll be able to meet the workforce needs for the variety of these opportunities to make sure we're catalyzing lots of public policy imperatives there, economic activity, clean energy, et cetera.
MLA Gallagher.
Chair, how much time do I have left?
2 minutes, 25 seconds.
Oh, okay. So many questions, so little time. Since we have the Public Service Commission here, I wanted to ask a very quick question. In January, the Public Service Commission released the 2 SLGBTQIA plus action plan that committed to designating the 2 SLGBTQIA plus as an employment equity group. And I'm just wondering if we have an update on that and when that was going to happen.
Commissioner MacKinnon.
For sure. It's actually an action plan out of the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism, but we play a big role in that, and I'm happy to say that's just been approved, and we'll be rolling it out over the coming weeks and starting conversations with the union on that. Yeah.
MLA Gallagher.
Okay, well, I asked my short question, so now I'm going to have to go to the longer one. One of the barriers to retention of workers in the skilled trade is working conditions. Could the department explain why labor protections for skilled trade workers are significantly weaker in Nova Scotia compared to other provinces? Specifically, the fact that construction workers are not entitled to overtime pay until they work more than 110 hours in a 2-week period.
Deputy Grant.
Great. I really appreciate the question. We've recently had this a dialogue as well in a prior committee meeting about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think it's important to highlight that the Labor Standards Code is really meant to be a minimum set of standards. Many individuals would be in the construction setting, road building. Many job sites across Nova Scotia would be operating in under environments that are in excess of a minimum set of standards. So certainly a variety of collective agreements with in an organized labor setting, and then of course various contracts with employers. Really appreciate the question and the the nature of overtime pay for workers. Again, as a department, we've made a number of efforts over the last number of years related to improving environments for workers. A lot of work on return to work as well, which is really critical. Recently made some changes.
That concludes the NDP second round of questioning. We'll move on to the Liberal Caucus. I believe MLA Mumbercat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for being here. I'm going to try to jam a whole lot in 7.5 minutes, but I do want to start with this. And we talked a lot about training today. We talked a lot about opportunities today. And they're there. I had the responsibility years ago to promote resource development in this province. It's important. There's lots of opportunities. We've seen it in the clean energy sector with the best solar home program in the country. We saw 70 companies pop up. We've seen a lot of opportunity on offshore, onshore wind. But what I want to get into today is one of the big challenges that, and I appreciate the comments coming from everybody today. You're all working hard in your departments to work together to grow the province. But while you're giving that message about going into communities, the government is giving the message that these communities are they're blockers and they're protesters, and relationships have been incredibly strained by that message. The relationship with the Mi'kmaq has been really ripped apart in the last number of months, and this all plays a big part in resource development that we have not talked about today. Special interest groups, that's what these communities have been called. So the challenge becomes, is to your point, Deputy, when you go into communities and you want to talk positively about resource development, your message is right. The message from the government is completely wrong. It's completely opposite to what the work that the departments are trying to do. So that is a huge problem. And I really want to touch on the consultation piece, because there is a duty to consult. And I think that that is something that needs to be taught to students that are getting into the industry, people who will ultimately be leaders. So my first question through you, Mr. Chair, to the representatives from NSCC, and I may raise my hand because I have, if I get my answer, so don't take that as me being, just we have limited time. But what are you doing as part of the curriculum to teach students about consulting with communities, engaging with communities, treaty rights, the role, the duty to consult? This is all very important for people who are going to be entering the industry. So, through you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lafford or Mr. Dawe? Just give me direction. Okay, Mr. Dawe.
Thank you very much for that question. I'm going to talk a little bit, it's a big topic, obviously. I'm going to talk a little bit about our natural resources and environment technology program. And what we've done there is we've looked at the curriculum, and we wanted to figure out what we could build in from an Indigenous perspective. So we actually have a course on traditional Mi'kmaq, traditional knowledge connections in science. And this is really about, because obviously in Indigenous communities, they have, amazing kind of principles and knowledge. And this is really for the learners in this program to understand traditional knowledge and implement that in the field. The other thing that we have in that program is environmental assessment, and we actually teach that. And obviously, there's legislation in these areas. So really, what we want to do, and we're not done yet, by the way. This is a continuous type of work, and I'm using this program as an example. But we are looking at our other programs as well.
MLA Member Cat.
Thank you, and that's important. And I think that never came up. That wasn't part of the conversation until really now today. And I think it's a conversation that we all need to have because ultimately we want to see the province grow. I come from a coal mining community. It was yesterday's kind of coal mining, and it still operates today underground. But there's lots of options. I use Little Narrows as an example. A lot of community. Social license, the community is heavily involved. The housing market, they supply, and I was a supplier for mines, so not directly involved with the mines, but for years I supplied safety equipment, fasteners, tools, the whole nine yards. So you see the benefits of these operations, but they need to be done in a way, and I just want to reiterate, because we only have so much time, and maybe this is a question for Mr. Grant or Deputy McKenzie or Deputy Grant, is that how do you rebuild those relationships, because they are broken? Like, the government went into communities, called people special interest groups, talked about the fact that all these blockers are there. There's a duty to consult with the Mi'kmaq. That relationship is incredibly strained. And all of these play a big part because there is a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity in the sector. We've seen it onshore, offshore, resource development, and people want information. And also, maybe I'll add to this, Deputy McKenzie, if you could provide some insight into the Dalhousie work. My question will be: will that information be made public for people to see the data, similar to what we did in the offshore? So that's a lot jumbled in because I don't have a lot of time, but I just really want to reiterate that consultation is key, and we should be teaching our students that moving forward, teaching them about building that relationship, respecting that relationship, and going into a community transparently saying, these opportunities exist. These are the community benefits. This is the science. It is public for everyone, and everyone should play a part in it, and everybody should benefit from it. So I'll leave it there for comments.
Deputy McKenzie with 1 minute and 35 seconds.
So I'm going to answer one part that was in there. With respect to the work that's being done with Dalhousie, the aerial work that's being planned, and then the larger digital core scanning, that all will be public. So the idea is that people anywhere in the world will be able to look at a digital versions of what's available in Nova Scotia and make some decisions about whether they're going to locate here. So with respect to consultation, we honor the consultation requirements, but also we have developed and long-term standing relationships that we maintain and support a number, in particular, I would say the Mi'kmaq Forestry Initiative and a number of other initiatives. I recognize that things can get heated, but I would say that we're continuing to do the work, and that as we move forward. I'd also like to say that businesses often go out and do the community benefits engagement and the Mi'kmaq consultation themselves. So PHP, for instance, as part of their work, goes out and does that work. But also a number of the mining companies, at Next Gold and others, have gone out and done the community benefits in Guysborough and done the consultation. So we let industry lead when it makes the most sense. We require that the consultation be done, but that it depends on who should be in the space. But we have 600 staff that are out right across the province. They're in community. Thank you.
Sorry about that. We'll now move on to the PC Caucus for 15 minutes, and that will be MLA, need a hand. MLA McCrory. Okay.
Thank you. We had discussed safety a bit earlier. And I'd like to know what work is happening to prepare workers safely for emerging industries like offshore wind and hydrogen production. And can you confirm that safety standards will not be lowered as these industries scale? Deputy Grant, please.
Deputy Grant.
Strong yes to the latter. The ongoing efforts for ensuring both, and there's many different fronts, if you will, of OHS officers are aware of emerging technologies in industries as well. We are very active with standard-setting councils and efforts across Canada. A lot of our staff, I would argue, really proportionally higher than maybe some other partners, but really lean in on ensuring we're at the forefront for best practice. So that's kind of our efforts as a regulator, which are really important, engaging with jurisdictions that maybe have activities that are on our future, but not currently here today, but are certainly active in those jurisdictions, and better understanding if there are ways and efforts and regulatory framework elements that they think differently because of an activity. And so all of that work is very much active and has been for some time and will be on the horizon. Workers on various job sites, there's multiple different, I would say, focuses and priorities. Certainly one is ensuring that we have effective mentorship and training on site, and that there's programs that we offer to support employers and associations on that journey. Also having competency-based learning is really critical. So I'll just take construction safety as an example. There are critical regulatory requirements for competency in many different spaces. That can be entry-level roles, supervision. Other examples would be trenching and shoring, rigging, mobile elevated work platforms. All of those have different requirements, and safety providers and associations do a wonderful job. Organized labor as well, unions provide a lot of training for individuals to make sure they're safe on job sites. I referenced earlier, I won't go through again, about the improvements in safety culture in Nova Scotia, and that really has taken the work of a variety of safety partners. All of these things gathered together give me great confidence of us continuing to meet the moment so that we can capture opportunities in emerging industries, and then also make sure that a workforce can be safe, because we all want everyone to be able to get up in the day, go have a day of work, and be able to come back home to their friends, family, interests, et cetera.
Thank you. MLA McCrory.
Thank you. Can you speak to the role the Institute of Skilled Trades at NSCC will play in supporting workforce development? Mr. Lafford, please.
Mr. Lafford.
Thank you for the question. The IST, or the Institute of Skilled Trades, with NSCC is coming along really well in terms of identifying areas where NSCC can improve in our progression of students through our programs. So as we mentioned earlier about getting the right students in the right programs to begin with, and in the end graduating a higher percentage. So our grad rate will continue to go up in those areas, meaning we will graduate more skilled professionals in the areas that are needed at the right time, in the right geographic area in the province, with the right skill sets. So we're listening directly from industry, not indirectly, but directly from industry, of what those skill sets are, where that labor is needed, and when that labor is needed as well. And we'll continue to monitor that. We'll continue to be tight in what we use as labor market information. There's a variety of labor market information sources right across the country and within the province. We take all those labor market information sources, pull them together, and then the term that I use with my team is that we ground truth that with industry, so that we make sure that what we're seeing in data pulled off the internet is actually true at the source with our industry partners.
Thank you. MLA McCrory.
Yeah, and I guess that that goes hand in hand with safety and retention, because you look at some of the issues that you mentioned, like confined space and working at heights. Well, they're dangerous, and they have a set of safety requirements that go along with it. Deputy Grant, maybe I can ask you about working with industry and making sure that our programs fit with the needs.
Deputy Grant.
I really appreciate it. I think there's, as an example with NSCC and many trading providers, I don't think it's at any moment in time that we should look behind us and feel like what we've done is 100% perfect and right and will serve us forever, thus in perpetuity in the future. So engagement with industry is absolutely critical. At the department, we have a sector council structure, which is really helpful. So 14 sector councils that represent key sectors throughout Nova Scotia: fishing, farming, forestry, the list goes on. They're really important engagement points to really understand the state of the labor market and the state of our training and its relevancy and meeting the needs of what industry requires. I've also spent the last year with the minister. This is a significant priority of his, of making sure that we are out on job sites and meeting with folks, employers, employees, again, organized labor, and making sure we're reflecting those perspectives in our thinking and decision-making and programming. The Institute of Skilled Trades is a significant but one example of where we keep our efforts on industry engagement to make sure that we're really meeting the needs of what employers are looking for. And then also, as an example, we've created an apprentices forum with Nova Scotia Apprenticeship Agency, so that we're also hearing from apprentices on what their journey is like, what it's been like to interact with the NSAA, NSCC, again, whether they're at with a union in a union hall environment. Never wanting that journey to feel disparate for an individual, but it feels cohesive, they feel supported, and they are advancing at good milestones, and all of that in service of progression and retention. That's critical for us. So hearing directly from people, not just staying behind our desks, so to speak, is a critical part of our daily work.
MLA Boudreau.
Thank you, Chair. And they often will save me for last because I'll sometimes go on these rants and not get to my questions. And so I think I have about 6 minutes left. And but Deputy McKenzie, my questions aren't going to you, but you said something that really piqued my interest, and it was talking about talking positively. And I've never really thought much about how does that succession? How do we make sure that people understand the opportunities that we have? Because these are huge opportunities. I've had the privilege of being a minister in a portfolio that was around these opportunities. And when you talk about talking positively, I want to give a shout out to a couple of different organizations. One is NSCC, and my colleague actually got to attend the wind turbine course. They had an open house at NSCC. I didn't get to go, but we're the two MLAs close to the Strait campus, and I didn't get to go, but I did run into some students that went. And I ran into them at the gym. They cornered me at the gym, 4 of them, to talk about how excited they were about the opportunity and how important that open house was. So credit to NSCC, credit to my colleague for making it, but it was really interesting to get their perspective as young, grade 12 students just graduating and the opportunities they saw because of what NSCC did. I'll give a shout out to industry as well. So Everwind is in our neck of the woods, and Everwind has done a great job of trying to get high school students in. And some here will know Lois Landry. Lois, former high school teacher, good friend of mine, warden of Richmond County. She's dragged so many high school students over to Everwind. They've set this up so different high schools from all over the Strait area have brought their students in to understand what's that opportunity. And when you talk about positivity, these kids are excited, they're motivated, and they want to be part of it. They want to be part of that solution. And this comes back to my colleague just talked about the negativity and talked about kind of we're against community. That's not it at all. Let's talk about like all the success stories that we've had. Let's talk about the Intertie and our work with the WMA and with Crystal there. And let's talk about Port Hawkesbury Paper and how the First Nations are part of their wind farm that they're talking about. I toured 3 or 4 different wind farms where the First Nations were all partners. Maybe it was individual bands or it was at the WMA. Let's talk about Everwind and Patenkek, and we talk about Bolatek, and we talk about Membertou all being involved with Everwind. They're involved, and they're active there. And yes, there are hard conversations, and yes, there's going to be some uncomfortable conversations, but there is a path forward. And we are a government that has always believed in the duty to consult, and we'll continue to do that. So I just wanted to get that on the record. Maybe I'll get to my question, but certainly I see this huge opportunity, and there's massive opportunities. And one of my colleagues talked about, in particular, the offshore wind. And how are we going to get there? And this goes to my question, because there's more than just offshore wind. We can talk about natural resource development, defense sector. We can talk about all of that. And there are going to be connections to it. But I guess, I've heard from NSCC and their excitement. Deputy McKenzie talked about her excitement and confidence in it. But maybe Deputy Grant would like to kind of highlight, I guess, what gives you confidence that Nova Scotia is well positioned to meet that workforce demand? And I got a question.
Thank you. And you did get a question. You did get a question. Just for my people, I know we get excited, but try to keep your questions through the chair as much. No, that's okay. Yeah, I understand. And thank you for shaming those of us who don't go to the gym. So we will go to Deputy Grant.
I too do not go to the gym. I'm share the enthusiasm. I have been and just a great ambassador, and I would argue our entire leadership team at the department is champions for skilled trades, and really seeing the wonderful opportunities. When I get photos, pictures, experiences, testimonials back from individuals that are going through skills competitions, and the successes that they have, what that means for them to be recognized, we hear from apprentices that feel like it is their time, because it is. They feel like they're being prioritized, that they're being supported, and I believe that to be the case for industry and employers across Nova Scotia. I referenced earlier about the the wage and the income earning potential. There are a wide variety, and including in areas that you wouldn't otherwise think. One focus of mine, in concert with many system partners, is I don't want students going through grade 9 through to grade 12, and when they think of construction trades, they're only thinking of electrical, plumbing, and carpentry, that there are a wide variety of opportunities, including in associated natural resource spaces. We have programming that we've been engaged with a partner to support high school students getting into silviculture in the forestry sector, which has been really helpful and critical. But there's a number of different programs and pathways for students that best meet their characteristics and their experience. Are you someone that's had a familial background and you have been touching tools since you were a child and really have high skill and competency, and direct entry might be a wonderful opportunity for you with the right connection with an employer? Are you someone who's gone to the Construction Trades Exhibition Center and you've gone through those booths and a spark has happened and now you have a deep interest? Going through one of the pre-apprenticeship programs, NSCC, again, could be a wonderful opportunity. And as we've talked about earlier, we've BTAC, lots of incredible success of individuals being engaged with the trades and unions involved in that facility. But there really is a moment in time. And just earlier this week, at a meeting that Andrew and I were at, but I heard from a number of different employers that spanned automotive, traditional construction.
Order. Sorry, Deputy. That concludes our question and answer period. Would you like to finish our closing statement? You can do that in a minute. We will. I have a practice of going in reverse order for closing statements from our opening statements. So we'll begin with Mr. Lafford, and then we'll proceed with a brief closing statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to each of the committee members for taking the time to bring your questions and issues forward to us and to our government partners today. We will most certainly be taking your input and our learnings through your lines of questioning back to our team so that we continue to grow and address our work within our mission of the college, that is to build Nova Scotia's economy and quality of life through education and innovation. And just a quick note that we are about to celebrate, starting tomorrow, over 4,000 graduates in 22 ceremonies across the province. And look forward to that very much over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So we really do take this work to heart, as we know that each learner that leaves us with a post-secondary education will in turn invest their talents and energy back into the workforce, building their sector, their communities, and the Nova Scotia economy. Your continued support and interest, along with the government investments in our work, is indeed an investment in our collective future. We look forward to continuing to help support all of our learners, core, part-time, customized, con ed, apprenticeship, and all other forms, to help them transform their lives and transform our province. Please reach out to me or Philip if you have any further questions. Thank you for your time and for allowing us to speak to you today on behalf of the Nova Scotia Community College.
Thank you, Mr. Lafford. Commissioner MacKinnon.
I just want to say, it's a privilege to get to plan and work through these big opportunities with my colleagues and figure out how to best support them. We all feel that way at the PSC. I want to thank the committee members. I want to thank the NSCC for continuing to be a great partner. And I'd just like to finish by thanking all the great public servants working in these areas in this sector. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Grant.
Very much appreciate the time here today. And again, I expect many more conversations about these topics in the months and years ahead, because this is the journey we're on. There's wonderful growth opportunities in many different sectors. Just to harken back to prior comments, many of the employers, what they had mentioned to me is that they were taking more graduates this year than they had in prior years because they were ready. And I just thought that was a wonderful testament to the training that's happening with providers, really, of course, NSCC and many others across Nova Scotia. So thanks for the time today, and look forward to future discussions.
Thank you. And Deputy McKenzie.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all of the committee members. It's really good to be, we don't get gathered up like this to hear what everybody else is doing, so it was great. So I guess in closing, this is a call to action, and the opportunities are vast. There are biologists, geologists, pilots, conservation officers, foresters, surveyors, silviculture operators. We can go on. And we all collectively you are the most networked humans in the world. So when you get a chance to talk to young people and they say, this is what I think I'm interested in, or this is what I enjoy doing, then connect them to somebody that can give them some guidance on terms of what those jobs are, because that's really, their jobs are real and the opportunities are, as I said earlier, vast. Our communities can benefit. We can have forestry and land protection. We can have mining and protect species at risk. We can have better processes and make things easier for businesses while upholding high standards. We are a resilient people. We can become a have province economically with good jobs and have the places and spaces in nature that we love. Thank you very much.
Thank you to one and all. We really appreciate you today. It was a great discussion. We will ask our guests to please leave the room as expeditiously as possible. We do have to attend to just a couple small pieces of committee business, but we do like to thank you for coming today, and we'll stand in recess for a minute. Order. We'll bring the committee back to order here if we could, just to go over a bit of committee business. And it's basically just some correspondence that have been received to the committee regarding 10 emails received May 13th concerning the Nova Scotia nominee program rule changes. They've been forwarded to all our committee members, so just wanted to put that on the record that they've been no questions about that, that is noted that has been received. And other than that, there was May 29th an email from Nova Scotia Promise, a request to appear at a future meeting and formal submission to the committee. That was forwarded to all the committees on receipt. And again, yesterday, is there any discussion about that? MLA Wozni.
Yeah, I would feel good about sort of asking the department to respond to sort of those emails and provide an outline in response, rather than there's an indication that there's a willingness to engage in a FOIPOP to get to the bottom of the questions. So I just think it's prudent to request that the department provide a fulsome response to the emails that were received, so people don't have to jump through additional hoops to get the answers that they're looking for.
Okay. So you're talking, the email from Nova Scotia Promise you're discussing. Is there any other comments on that? MLA Boudreau.
I thank you, Chair, and I think, from my perspective, I think we all receive those emails, and this is an important topic and certainly something I think, there could be further discussion on. But I think at the end of the day, I think, you know, I think individual caucuses, like we've all received this. So if caucuses want to reach out to the department, our caucus actually already has about these letters and sent it off to the department to kind of ask, you know, to send this off. I think that's a good first step, and I would suggest maybe that NS Promise could also reach out to the department, because my understanding is they've sent it just directly to the committee. So our hope is that the department will respond to kind of what we've sent off, but encourage other caucuses to do that as well.
So there's two different approaches here. Do we have agreement that will allow Nova Scotia Promise to just reach out to further departments, to the departments directly? MLA Wozni.
I think if the desire is for consistent messaging, to get back to, you know, those making inquiries via email, I don't know why all caucus support for a consistent departmental response to come through to those folks that bypasses any need for any further formal information chasing.
Order. The time for our committee has concluded at 3 p.m. So that concludes our meeting for today. That will be taken up, obviously, at our next meeting. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, July 7th, from 1 p.m. to probably 1:10 p.m. It'll just be for appointments to agencies, boards, and commissions, as that's our practice through the summer. And then our next regular meeting for topics will be in September. The topic to be announced by our clerk at some point. So July 7th will be our next meeting. With that, we stand in adjournment. Thank you.